4 years after South Korea's total decimation in Train to Busan, the zombie thriller that captivated audiences worldwide, acclaimed director Yoon Sang-ho brings us Peninsula, the next nail-biting chapter in his post-apocalyptic world. Jung-hyun, a soldier who previously escaped the diseased wasteland, relives the horror when assigned to a covert operation with two simple objectives: retrieve and survive. When his team unexpectedly stumbles upon survivors, their lives will depend on whether the best or worst of human nature prevails in the direst of circumstances. Peninsula. Some call it Train to Busan 2. I call it a real thrill ride. You got zombies, you got car chases, you got insane action sequences, you even have an underground fight pit. You know, you got those zombies, and you got the unfortunate outsiders, I guess, to this compound, 631, this unit. I guess they used to be a military unit and they went rogue, and they used these unfortunate guys as game. They're players in a very, very sick game. They're down there. I think it's like 180 seconds on the clock. The guy has one of those buttons where you hit it and raises the gate, and out comes these zombies, all on top of each other, looking like a one unit. And they just have to survive that 180 seconds or so, and then they're okay. But they got to get back into their little what do you call that, little cargo thing, with little doors on it. You don't get in there, you're probably fucked. I don't know. That was crazy. That was insane. And it's the character of this guy. He's a captain. You see, they show him on a boat, and he pretty much was among the survivors. Unfortunately, his sister and his nephew didn't, but his brother-in-law did. And then we see him years later. He's no longer a part of that, part of the military, a part of that unit. Him and his brother-in-law are at odds. They're looking to score some easy money, and after they get their score, they're gonna go their separate ways. They have these two other guys with them, a guy and a girl. Quickly, when they arrive where they need to be to retrieve a truck that has money in it, over 20 million, something like that, right? And they each get 2.5 mil once they retrieve it and return it. Two little sat radios, and they have to call them, and they will be at the port in a boat, and they will pick them up. Along the way, they meet some nefarious characters. You got a sergeant who heads this entire 631 unit. You got a drunk that's a captain. You got his underling that's a guy who has a limp, and he's pretty much like a golfer and all that stuff. And then along the way, the main character, Jung-hyun, bumps into two sisters. And once he gets picked up by them and go on a real wild car chase, where the older sister can drive her ass off. She really knows what she's doing. Flipping and turning and spinning, knocking zombies over along the way. And then, they get to the base. There's their grandfather, who's trying to get in touch with some military person named Jane to help them, to rendezvous with them. And then Jung-suk sees the mother and recognizes her as somebody who, when he was trying to get his, he's getting his sister and brother-in-law and nephew to that boat from earlier in the movie, he stumbled upon a husband, wife, and a daughter, small daughter, and he did not stop for them. So he recognizes them, and there's a moment where he felt really bad. He felt remorse. later on when he reveals it to her, she's not really even mad. She's just like, oh, you're not the first. 31 people went by and didn't stop. But you gotta, but now that you're indebted to my daughters, do whatever you can to help them survive. And boy, did they have to survive a whole heck of a lot in this movie. Up against zombies, up against the sergeant and his crew, talking about that wild car chase scene, which lasted some minutes. I mean, it was amazing. Wall to wall, action packed, and reminded me of like Road Warrior. Exactly, it was just like that, but it was in darkened, you know, apocalyptic, destroyed, you know, part of town, if you will. And what I love about it, this movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that this movie really is right up there with just the different type of zombie movies that you get out there. They shouldn't all be the same. They shouldn't all be just these zombies that are just walking all slow and you're running away from them. You get some fast ones like in 28 Days Later. You got some, dangerous ones. This thing right here, boys, it's like as soon as they get bit, they're zombies. Like it's just like that. Just like that. And the one thing that kind of killed me in this thing when I was watching this, that the main guy, the guy that plays him, the character of Jung-hyun, every time he's in a situation and he needs to get out of there, he'll look back like as if he's looking back and he's taking his time. And there was one time when they were telling him to hurry up, his crew, before they died. But, and I'm like, go, dude, what are you doing? Go! You have no time to fucking be melancholy and wonder what if and all that stuff. Like what he was thinking, I'm like, get out of there. Good. Move. Go. But, his brother, I mean, he thought he lost his brothers, and his brother-in-law is the one that, he survived, and he was one of the guys who actually had 61 spray painted on his body. He was one of those guys that unfortunately had to fight those zombies in that underground game that they had going, that fight pit kind of thing they had going. He loses them later on when he reunites with them, saves him while he's in that pit, and pretty truly sad. That's the one time that when he looked back and he was, kind of looking at his brother after the brother got shot by the sergeant, who met a very, very appropriate end, and I'll talk about that. He's looking back at him, and he's real sad. And I'm going, yeah, that's your brother-in-law. That's the one time that it made sense. Other times you're just like, get out of there. And you doing? What are you doing? But like we're talking about the grandfather now. He was trying to get in touch with Jane, right? Now they get through everything. And this one thing about this movie is that you think it's done and it's not, and it keeps you going on the edge of your seat, and you're like going, when is this movie over? I want them to get out of there already. I want them to be safe. Get on the transport. Get out of there. And up to like the last 5 minutes, the movie was done. But it's like every minute you're like going, come on, get out of there. And when you finally do, now this is after, beforehand, when they arrived, him and his team, he saw this kind of like it's tilted on his side. It was like a rectangular type of cargo thing. I don't know what it was, but it was glass. There was glass on the side. He saw it. He goes up to it. We all seen it in the trailer. He goes up to it, and then you see all these faces pressed up against the thing. Now that comes in handy later on, because when they were being pursued by the sergeant and one of his guys, they're driving this small vehicle. He gets a clever idea, shoots holes in the window, and then the sergeant goes, uh-oh. And then all of them just break out. All these zombies just break out of there, surround the sergeant's car, and sergeant's desperately saying, man, back up. You can't back up. With all those zombies on it, you can't back up through them. And then you hear him screaming, and there's no screaming anymore. So he got his ass eaten up, killed. Good. I was like, when is he going to die? Please let him die. Because he was a perfect villain. He was a perfect character. He had to be how he was. He wasn't going to be a nice guy, of course. But you wanted him to die. I did. And it was that. And then when they finally do get to, see a a C-130, it looked like, helicopter, and they shoot flares to let them know they're there. Now, when they arrive, it's Jane, the one that the grandfather was looking for. Now, unfortunately, the grandfather was shot and killed, shielding his granddaughter, the youngest of their two girls. And their mother was shot in the leg, and this was by that captain, the drunk that I was talking about earlier, who he wanted to bring the, the truck with the money in it. He brings it to, the meet the rendezvous with those guys who sent the Jung-suk and his party initially. Now he ends up showing up. The captain, they look at him like, who's this guy? And he's thanking them all. I'm saying thank you, because he's thinking that he's gonna live the life of, he's gonna get like 2.5 mil. He gets shot, but then in his state where he was still able to have some sense, he puts the gear in reverse and he backs it up. And the guy's going, man, get the money. And then all the horde of zombies come in. They all get eaten up. They all get killed. And then Jung-suk was looking like, yep, that would have been us. They would have, because they were going to get their ass killed anyways too. They were going to be turned on. Those guys that ordered them to go there, gave them that mission, they were going to turn on them. So you see what happens, but it ended up happening to the captain. And then what happens is that she's the mother ends up in a vehicle, and all the zombies are on top of her. She's honking the horn so that she could lead them away, and then it gives Jung-suk and his two daughters room to get to the chopper. You know what I mean? Reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Get to the chopper. But I digress. And they do, and then the Jane is telling them, you know what? Your mother made a supreme sacrifice. Her mother has a gun, a rifle, into her, the AR-50 or whatever that is, the assault rifle, in her mouth, ready to blow her brains out. She's pretty much saying that she's going to sacrifice herself because she's not going to want to die with those zombies eating her up and everything, or killing her. So she decides she's going to do that. They even see her from their vantage point. They can see her doing it, yelling, don't do it, mom, please don't, and then Jung-suk, he decides that he's going to go, and he promises the young girl, I'm going to go help get your mom. He does, while the mom fights them off, and she's running towards him. He runs towards her, shooting zombies behind her. She gets over there, and then Jung-suk also finds his way there. And all the time, she was like, there's one time where she's hugging her daughters, and again, I'm going, get to the chopper, get inside. All of a sudden we see Jung-suk emerge, and he goes in there, and then she's getting Ivy, the mom and everything. Everybody else got treated and everything. They're worried about the mom, but the mom's gonna be okay. And here's a sick thing. I thought that they were gonna get blown up. One of those real weird endings where they get blown up, but no, they just fly off. And remind me of what do you call it? That one of the was that Resident Evil 2, the remake game, where everything, taking care of all the zombies, and then you go off into a helicopter. All is well. And the same thing here. Doesn't leave any kind of room for a sequel, another one. Wouldn't mind it. Now, the director Yun Sang-ho really did an amazing job here. Same thing like he directed the Train to Busan. A lot of people are kind of going, man, this doesn't look nothing like the movie he directed in Train to Busan, but it shouldn't be. This is basically apocalyptic. This is like a different thing. It's not going to look the same like Train to Busan. I don't know why people thinking that it has to look like Train to Busan. The one thing that matters that comes from Train to Busan is the zombies. They're going to be there. You're not going to have it like it was before. Do you want to talk about the story? I think the story was good. I think the story was enough to explain everything and to kind of move the movie along, but the movie is just a balls out, action thrill ride with zombies. Like I said, you get a little mix of car chase scenes and intense ones, well thought out, well done, well shot. I don't know where they get these indestructible cars at. These cars are like taking their punishment and banging against everything and slamming down and crashing, and then all of a sudden, then when those scenes are done, they're driving all nicely, no kind of going, But hey, suspend your disbelief. This is not a real life. This is a movie. There's zombies in this movie. That's not real life. Although there's some people out there that you could say are zombies the way they act. I'm not talking about eating want to eat people, but they're just out of it. But but it's a movie. What do you expect? But like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It took the taste out of my mouth watching that horrid film Wonder Woman '84. This movie really had me from the first part to the last part. Had me on the edge of the seat. Had me wanting it to be done. Not because I was tired of them, but just because I wanted these guys to be safe and on that transport and out of there. But it took so long at points because it's like, hurry up, hurry up, But I thoroughly enjoyed it, And it's right there's a bookend to me for with Train to Busan, you know. And I noticed that there's some other zombie films from, that even the animated prequel that he did before Train to Busan. I haven't yet seen that, but I definitely want to check that out. But yeah, this was a great film. Like I said, thoroughly entertaining, and in one word, or say one phrase, it's a thrill ride. It was just amazing, totally amazing film. A great spin on the zombie genre. You got to switch it up. You can't just rely on the same thing. This thing really does think out of the box. The director, writers, whomever they are. Our director, of course, is Yoon Sung-ho, but the writers, if maybe he wrote it, I don't know. I didn't really read up on that, but I probably will find that out. But whomever else worked on this, you guys did a good job. This is a great film. I just enjoyed it. That's nothing more I can say. I enjoyed it. So for those of you who stopped by and checked out my recap and thoughts, my review of Train to Busan Presents Peninsula or Train to Busan 2 Peninsula, however it's named. One name that you can give it is that it's just intense. Loved it. But anyway, that's my video. So for those of you who stopped by, check it out. I appreciate it. And in closing, as always, take care.